Hello there! Ever looked at a simple pear and just thought, a nice piece of fruit? Well, today we're going to peel back the layers, quite literally, on this common fruit and discover something truly quite amazing it can do. Especially for a part of us that works incredibly hard every single day without complaint, our liver. Stick around, because you might be genuinely surprised by how eating pears the right way could give your liver a much-needed helping hand. Now, why focus specifically on the liver? Think of it as the body's tireless main filter and central processing plant. It diligently cleans our blood, helps digest the delicious food we enjoy, stores vital energy, and performs so much more. It's working relentlessly 24/7, often without us giving it much conscious thought. But like any dedicated hard worker, it certainly appreciates some support now and then. Things like eating rich foods, maybe enjoying a drink occasionally, or just the unavoidable stresses of modern life can definitely put a strain on it. So finding simple, effective, natural ways to help it function optimally is always a very good idea. And that brings us right back to the humble, yet wonderful, pear. People have valued pears for ages and ages. Some ancient folks even reverently called them the gift of God. And it really turns out they were onto something significant. Pears are positively packed with good things for us. They're naturally sweet and refreshing, low in calories, and absolutely brimming with beneficial nutrients. One of the true star players in pears, especially when we talk about supporting liver health, is fiber, particularly a special type called pectin. Imagine pectin almost like a tiny natural sponge moving gently through your system. It cleverly helps soak up things we don't necessarily need, like excess cholesterol, and assists in moving them smoothly out. This action can effectively ease the burden on your liver, as it doesn't have to work quite as hard processing certain fats and toxins. Plus, all that wonderful fiber is fantastic for keeping your digestion regular and running smoothly, which also indirectly helps your liver too. Remember, when things move efficiently downstream, there's less backup for the liver upstream to deal with. But pears offer so much more than just fiber alone. They are generously loaded with potent natural compounds like flavonoids and polyphenols. You can think of these essentially as your body's internal protective guardians. They act powerfully like antioxidants, fighting off cellular damage from unstable molecules called free radicals. You could perhaps think of it like preventing internal rust inside your body. This crucial anti-inflammatory and antioxidant action is absolutely vital for keeping all our cells healthy, including those incredibly hard-working liver cells. And guess where a significant concentration of these protective compounds are found? That's right, primarily in the skin. So we'll certainly talk more about that key point in just a moment. Pears also contain other valuable helpers, like essential vitamin C, another powerful antioxidant that supports your robust immune system and promotes healthy skin, and vitamin K, which is very important for proper blood clotting and maintaining bone health. There's even a specific substance called arbutin, found mostly in the skin and flesh, which various studies suggest might possess protective effects specifically targeted towards the liver, and beneficial components like ursolic acid, found quite abundantly in the peel, seem to actively help with metabolism and may potentially reduce unwanted fat buildup within the liver. It truly is like nature cleverly packed a multi-support system into this one accessible fruit. Further research also suggests certain compounds naturally present in pears might even help our bodies process alcohol a bit more efficiently, potentially reducing levels in the blood faster. And still other studies point towards valuable protective effects against certain types of liver cell damage, and even assisting in managing fat levels within the liver itself, which is certainly relevant for conditions such as fatty liver disease, aiding overall liver function. Okay, so we've established pears are great, but how exactly should we eat them to really tap into these wonderful benefits, especially for supporting our liver? Here's precisely where it gets particularly interesting, and perhaps a little unexpected. First things first, and this is very important, keep the skin on. I know, sometimes we automatically peel fruits purely out of habit, but with pears you'd genuinely be tossing out a real treasure trove of those beneficial fibers, potent antioxidants, and specific helpful compounds like ursolic acid we just discussed. Just give them a thorough wash under running water and be sure to enjoy them skin and all. Now, here's something that might genuinely surprise you quite a bit. While eating fresh, raw pears is definitely good for you and beneficial, cooking them, specifically boiling them gently, might actually boost some of their inherent benefits rather significantly. Intriguing research, including data cited in scientific literature across different fields, strongly suggests that heating pears can dramatically increase the available levels of certain beneficial compounds, like those valuable flavonoids and polyphenols, potentially by a very large, almost unbelievable amount. Some credible reports even mention increases measuring thousands of times over compared to the raw fruit, which is truly quite astounding when you think about it. So, how do you actually do it? It's wonderfully, reassuringly simple. Take a couple of ripe pears, wash them very well, remember always skin on, carefully remove the core and stem, and chop them into reasonably sized chunks. Put these chunks into a pot, cover them with just enough fresh water to barely submerge them, and bring the water gently to a boil. Then, reduce the heat and let them simmer gently until they become perfectly soft and tender, perhaps for around 15-20 minutes, depending slightly on the type and ripeness of the pear. You're essentially making a simple, wholesome, stewed pear, or a light pear compote. Let it cool down just a bit before you eat it, so it's comfortably warm. The pears will be incredibly soft, with an almost melt-in-your-mouth texture, and the cooking liquid they simmered in will be beautifully infused, with all that pear goodness too. You can happily eat the pear chunks and slowly sip the warm, flavorful liquid. It's incredibly warming, deeply comforting, and according to the available research, potentially even more potent in its detoxifying and antioxidant effects compared to eating raw pears. Think of it as gently unlocking even more of the pears. Amazing hidden power for your body. When should you best enjoy this delightful preparation? Honestly, any time works really well. Some people find that having this warm cooked pear, or even just a simple raw pear, as a light evening meal, or perhaps a satisfying snack instead of something much heavier, can be quite beneficial and settling. It's nicely satisfying without being overly taxing on your digestive system right before bed. A quick additional note: try to enjoy your pears, whether you choose raw or cooked, preferably on their own when possible. Sometimes combining fruits directly with very complex meals can slightly interfere with the most optimal digestion process for certain individuals. Letting the fruit work its gentle magic solo, perhaps enjoyed as a healthy snack between your main meals, might just allow your body to process it most effectively and absorb its benefits fully. Keep it straightforward and simple, just the pear doing its beneficial thing. Now, a couple of important things to keep in mind as well. Pears are traditionally considered somewhat cooling in nature based on certain dietary philosophies. If you tend to feel cold easily, or if it happens to be particularly chilly outside, eating them very cold straight from the fridge might not feel the best on your stomach. That's yet another excellent reason why the warm cooked pear method is so appealing. It naturally warms them right up and makes them exceptionally gentle and soothing on the system. Also, while pears are undoubtedly wonderfully healthy, sensible moderation is always a key principle, especially if you're actively mindful of your blood sugar levels. Pears do contain natural sugars, like fructose and sorbitol for instance. The naturally high fiber content thankfully helps slow down this sugar absorption considerably, which is great, giving them a generally low impact on blood sugar compared to refined processed sweets. However, eating a very large quantity, all at once, might still noticeably affect blood sugar, particularly for individuals who are carefully managing diabetes or similar metabolic conditions. The cooked pear method might potentially be slightly gentler in this specific regard for some people, but it's still definitely wise to stick to reasonable portions, perhaps the equivalent of 1 or maybe 2 pears worth at any single time. And certainly always avoid adding any extra sugar or mixing them with sugary syrupy liquids. Let the pear's lovely natural sweetness be perfectly sufficient. For those managing specific health conditions like diabetes or cancer, focusing intently on whole pears without unnecessary additives, and perhaps prioritizing the cooked method used in moderation, seems to be the most prudent and beneficial approach according to several health perspectives. So, we've focused quite heavily on the liver support aspect, but please remember those other fantastic benefits we touched upon earlier. That wonderful pectin fiber is absolutely brilliant for promoting heart health, primarily by helping to effectively manage cholesterol levels. The natural fruit sugars provide a nice, steady, and sustained energy boost. Maybe try having a pear before undertaking some light physical activity. And essential nutrients like vitamin K and the trace mineral boron significantly contribute to keeping your bones strong, dense, and healthy as you age. Pears even contain valuable compounds that actively support immune function and possess noted anti-aging properties. thanks in large part to vitamin C and a host of other protective antioxidants. It's truly a remarkably well-rounded fruit that supports our overall sense of well-being from multiple angles. Think about it for a moment. A simple, generally affordable, and widely available fruit like the pear holds so much incredible potential for supporting our precious health, especially that vital, constantly hardworking organ, the liver. And the fascinating idea that simply cooking it correctly with the skin left on might significantly amplify some of those crucial protective benefits is genuinely quite remarkable, isn't it? It's almost like discovering a potent natural health tonic that's been hiding in plain sight all along in our fruit bowls. Why not resolve to give it a try yourself? Perhaps make a small batch. Boil up a couple of pears sometime this week. Enjoy them pleasantly warm as a deeply comforting snack, or even as a light, easily digestible and satisfying part of a balanced meal. Just notice how you feel afterwards. It's such an incredibly easy, gentle, and enjoyable thing to incorporate into your regular routine. It's certainly not presented as a magic fix for everything, of course. That would be unrealistic. But it represents a wonderful, truly delicious, and entirely natural way to consciously show your liver, and indeed your whole body, a little extra kindness, care, and dedicated support. You could even prepare a slightly larger batch, allow it to cool completely, and then store it conveniently in a clean, airtight jar in the refrigerator for a couple of days. Simply gently reheat it or enjoy it cool straight from the fridge. That concludes our deep dive into the surprisingly potent power of pears for today's discussion. I sincerely hope you found this information both interesting and perhaps feel newly inspired to look at this everyday, common fruit with completely fresh eyes and appreciation. Please take very good care of yourselves. Always stay curious about exploring simple, natural health steps you can take, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.